People, the
Wait.
people.
Wait a minute.
Hello. Wow, one of the first faces on my screen, Mr. David Burton. So good to see you. Katie, nice to see you. Tina, Jill, Maureen, Kim, Sheila. I'm saying names because as I see faces, Cheryl, I encourage all of you, if you're able to be here and nowhere else, just give yourself this time to learn and grow and be together in a room. And if, as we get started, which I trust you know what you're here for, which is to reignite your PC program with proven strategies to boost engagement. If you would in the chat, let us know your role and how long have you been in the role. And so we'll get started with that as we go to our next slide to remind everyone how we conduct business around here.
Yeah, any outreach, make sure that you do it in a TCPA friendly way.
And compliant. Read all of the do's and don'ts. It's more than likely if you're within our organization, this is not the first time you've seen this slide. And if you need to read through it, we'll give you a few seconds just to make sure everybody understands. I'm going to start reading off some of what I see in our chat. Krista?
Okay.
And let's see, so I can see who's here and in the room. PC 1 year, PC 2 years, PC 4 years. It's like we're going up. An agent for 20 plus years. Agent and PC coach, 6 months. 5 years, 7 months. Launch coach, 1 month. Agent, 2.5 years. Realtor who did it for 8 years, coming back after 9. Welcome back, Angie. David, PC, 6 years, coaching for 7. 1 year, agent. All right. Well, we've got some extremely experienced people in the room. We have some maybe newer coaches into the room. And our belief, Krista and I, go to our next slide, Krista. Many of you know who we are. Some of you are like, who are these two ladies? Well, you can read all about us right there on the screen. We are both MAPS leadership coaches. We've been coaching to PCs combined. I don't know, we probably have 15,000 hours of coaching to the role, let's say, together. We've got lots of experience coaching to the role. Both of us had led PC programs ourselves, successful ones, which got us to where we are today. And now we get to lead this call. And we're both really excited to be here. Krista, anything you want to add about us?
No.
All right.
You've hit it all.
There you go. All right, speed readers. There used to be a course called Evelyn Woods, which most of you on the screen wouldn't know what that is, but it was a speed reading thing. So you probably have already finished on who we are. All right, next slide. We're going to dig right in. Let's talk about what we're doing today. So we are going to discuss a little bit of neuroscience behind engagement. Now, engagement truly does begin with the expectation conversation. We're going to look at some cadence for consistency and connection. And then we'll talk about some contest challenges, celebrations, and fun.
Yeah,
All
and we
right.
want to keep this participatory. So if you have questions, please put them in the chat. If you have something to say, please raise your hand and we will get you on camera. All right, so what we're going to jump into is the goal is 80% of agents engaged in the coaching program. So
Okay,
what do we know about engagement? It isn't motivation. It isn't a motivational problem. It's in reality what's going on inside of them. If you know me and you've heard me teach, you know that I'm going to talk about the brain. So it is actually a brain problem. Engagement isn't about personality. It's not about wanting more. And it's not about discipline. Engagement is basically the brain's reaction to reward, safety, and clarity. If you're missing any of those in your coaching program, you're going to have an engagement problem. So reward, the brain engages in reward. When it sees reward, it lights up. When it needs safety, it will disengage if it feels unsafe. And clarity, the brain will not engage if it doesn't have clarity.
And real quick on the 80%, just to go back, that's your goal. So we're going to go to the next slide to talk about what is engagement, but just be thinking the goal would be 80% of the agents in your program are engaging. And why do we think that's important? Because when the agents are engaging in your coaching program, they are more likely to get into production than if they're not. And if you look at your coaching roster, you're going to, in fact, we'd ask you to, if you can pull it up somehow for the PCs in the room. Engagement literally means that on some level, on any level, it's the people who show up for everything all the time. So I'm not talking about production, I'm talking about engagement. So it's the people who show up for everything. It's the people who show up sometimes. It's the people who don't show up for anything, but they call you when they have a question. Those are people who are engaging with you. So as you're looking at your coaching roster, your coaching clients, your list of agents who coach with you, who are the people who are just literally missing in action? They are non-responsive. They don't respond to anything. Those we would consider disengaged. So just for clarity purpose, engagement means they engage with you on some level. Now you can look at your roster and you can define and you can clarify, okay, these are highly engaged people in my program. These are somewhat engaged in my program. These are low engagement. You can classify them, but just know that engage means they engage with you on any level. And we're looking for 80% of the people on that roster to engage with you. And we're going to talk about ways to increase engagement. Anybody whoever's done that little exercise, anybody want to put in the chat? You can put a percentage, or you could say, I've got X amount engaged, or we'd like some sort of feedback on that, on what you're seeing. Most of you probably already know, if you're here today, that we have a great call tomorrow around dual career. And we do know that there are programs that are largely dual career programs. So we'll be talking about that tomorrow. Excellent. Thank you for sharing. So great. So the goal is to get them to get to the 80%. And so we'll talk a little bit more about how we can get there. Just remember, it's what Krista had said, that engagement is a brain state. It's not a personality trait. So coaches can intentionally activate the brain systems that drive motivation, connection, and action. That's part of what we'll talk about. Okay. Let's see. Anybody else put anything in there? 18 out of 30. What is that? 18 out of 30. All right, you're at 60%, getting close. Just keep working on increasing that to the 80% level. And we're going to talk about ways to do that. All right, I think we're ready for our next slide.
I moved it. This one?
Nope, next. Unless mine's not moving. There we go. Next. I read that out loud.
Oh,
Next one. There we
okay.
go. Here we go. So engagement is a brain state, like we just spoke about. So the motivation network, that is the system in the brain that gets us excited to take action. So when it's activated, people are engaged and productive. Getting them activated, getting that part of the brain activated is what we need to look at. So there's a few things to look at. And we're going to speak more about safety that Krista brought up earlier. But ways to engage that network in our brain, number one is clear goals. So it's clarity. And we know we have a bold law, clarity is power. So clear goals is one of the ways that we would activate the motivation network. Positive feedback. So acknowledgement, validation, positive feedback. That's another way to activate that motivation network. And progress. So it's a sense of progress. It's a sense that the person is moving towards something. We could look at rewarding. And so we're going to talk more as we get a little bit closer about rewards. But those are the three things. You need clear goals. You want positive feedback. And you want them to see that progress is occurring. And our jobs as coaches is to light up that network. So, let me ask this real quick. How are we doing with reviewing the 2026 goals for your clients? So in the chat, if you're working towards that, done it already, in process of, where are we with looking at the 2026 goals with each one of our clients? Okay, great. Oh, okay, great. Is it Tara or Tara?
Tara.
Tara. Okay, great, Tara. I didn't look at your last name. I know you. Okay, great. So we're in the process. This is really, really important that you as a coach are reviewing your client's 2026 goals. Okay, clarity is power.
Mhm.
Okay, half of them. Excellent. And by the way, going back to this whole engagement thing, you cannot influence someone who you cannot communicate with. So going back to the disengaged, you're not going to be able to review somebody's goals if they will not respond to, hey, let's sit down and look at your 2026 plan, your 2026 goals. But for those that you do that do engage with you, want to make sure that that is done. And I would say you've got probably this week, maybe part of next week, to get everybody together and make sure that you reviewed goals.
And I would also add that setting up the standards when they first come in, just like what Michelle is saying, that are they, going back to, hey, this is what we do when you come into the program. This is how we do things. And we create that safety space for them, that they feel safe when they're showing up. If they don't feel safe, there's a good shot that they're not going to show up to the coaching.
Yeah, let's talk about that reward and threat
So the
response,
threat,
Krista.
yeah, so the brain's one main job is to decide whether something is safe or if it's dangerous. And that's the sole purpose of the brain, is to keep you alive. And so it responds through, well, wait a minute, is this a threat? Or is this reward? So people don't pull back because they don't care. They pull back because their brain tells them that this is an unsafe environment. And it may really not be, but it could be what they're creating in their mind, which we call schemas. And I won't go all the way into that, but it's from the moment that they walk into that office, their story is what they came from. It could be that it's the story of, I used to be in HR. This is the way we should do things. This is how I was as a teacher. This is the way that we do things here. And we know that it's different. Some things are the same, but different. People don't lean in because they're motivated. They lean in because the brain sees a reward. How are you rewarding their activities? Are we in our one-on-one coaching sessions just saying, well, you didn't hit your goal, and we're always going to the negative? Because there's more negative words in the English language than there are positive words. So we want to drive the engagement for making them feel safe. If you want more engagement, lower the psychological threat that they have for their psychological safety. Raise the emotional reward. Random action creates stress. Cadence creates safety. So I will bring this in. I don't know if a lot of you use affirmations. I know years ago that was such a big thing that we talked about affirmations, but MRI studies have shown that practicing positive affirmations actually enhances mental and physical performance and activates that reward center. It enhances pleasure and reward. And another study showed that people that actually practice positive affirmations recovered more quickly from stressful situations. And do we find that stress in this business? We do. So the brain doesn't differentiate from what's real and what isn't. So we have to help them decide, is this a safe environment? And we've got to show them that it's safe so we can get them to show up.
Yep. And please know that what we're speaking to today does not mean that there's not accountability. It doesn't mean that you don't challenge people. It doesn't mean that you don't set the space for high expectations. We're going to do all of those things. But what Krista is speaking about, and especially for you as PCs, the PC is not the authority. You're not the authority in the relationship. When you're a productivity coach, it is a partnership with your clients. And so sometimes, well, what we believe is the more you learn about coaching and the competencies of coaching, the least likely you're going to be doing what Krista said, which is, well, why didn't you make your phone calls? Or why didn't you hit your goals? that really, there isn't a place for that in coaching. Now, do we want to know and have an understanding as to why that didn't occur? Of course we do. But it's not, you're not the authoritarian. You are on an equal playing field. So creating that space where they feel safe and rewarding. The reward could be as simple as Maureen, congratulations. You picked up the phone today. Good work. I mean, right then and there, just validating Maureen in what she did could create more engagement. Now, we're not going to yay for everything. So again, because we often talk about productivity coaches can love the agents right out of the business because all we do is there is still a space for challenge. There still is a space for expectation, expecting them to be the best version of themselves that they can be in this role. I'm sorry, in their roles as agents.
Well, and exactly what you're saying is the cadence of it, that the consistency compounds, we know that. And so even if it's celebrating that you made one call, because we all know that they're not going to make 50 calls a day if they won't do one. And so rewarding that and then keeping that cadence, that's that 66-day challenge that Jay talks about, is how do we keep them consistent for 60 days, 66 days to make it a habit?
Excellent. There's a few questions or a few things that are in the chat, so we'll go to those in just a couple minutes.
Yep.
But the social brain. So this kind of speaks to how many of you right now are in your own market center? It's a topic of conversation specifically with leadership around getting people to physically come in, like see the humans where you could touch, and anybody else working on that within the market centers? I see a couple of heads nodding to this point. So yes, yes, yes. Thank you. Lots of yeses around this. So much so even for Carrie. And so just as a reminder for all of us, the world really did change. And we all can talk about it because we all had the experience of COVID and we all know what we did. And I think it was brilliant what we did. I'm going to talk about coaching and market centers and leadership, where we went to Zoom because we still were able to connect at a very high level with people. And you still can. I mean, Krista and I both have coaching clients that are around the world. We couldn't do that without Zoom. So we do understand that the option of Zoom is great, but we also know that the human connection, the physical, you walk into a room, and we know in our organization, we used to say, if you don't get 7 hugs a day, then you become weird. There's actual science behind that all, by the way. That's not, and it was Mo Andersen that used to say that. And there's real neuroscience behind the fact that if you hug someone, what the chemicals that are released in your brain, you are more likely to remember something at a higher level. If you walked into that meeting, let's say I walked in and there was Katie, and Katie and I now, you don't have to hug. Could be a handshake, could be a pat. It could be just me and Katie looking in each other's eyes face to face. Her and I will remember more, at least at the very beginning of that meeting, than we would if we entered a Zoom room. There's real science behind human connection. Remember, the brain craves social. We are social brains. We crave it. So the more that you're doing in your program where you can bring people physically together, the better. And we are all working on it, because all industry, by the way, all industry is working on increasing engagement by being together. And as you've all seen, many of the really big organizations, whether it's Google or Intel, any of those, they are now requiring people to go back to work. And it's funny, I'll share this real quick. So I have a brother, I have a couple of brothers, but one of my brothers who does live in Florida, has the work he's been doing has been since COVID. So it's been all Zoom meetings. And I spoke with him, I don't know, a few months back. And when he answered the phone, he had sort of this, I said, what's going on? He's like, oh, I'm just driving back from the office. And I was like, oh, you go to the office now? He's like, yeah, they're requiring us to go 3 days a week. And he was just like, oh, and I have to, put pants on, and I have the whole thing. And then I said to him, so how is it when you're there? And I'm telling you all, and was over the phone. I literally heard him go from to, oh, it's great. I mean, his energy just picked up about being physically in the room with people. So the experience of being in the room was great. It was the getting there. And if we go back to, there was a time in all of our lives where that wasn't a thing. We all just did that. 5 years ago or whenever the pre-COVID era, we all just got up and went to work. So we have got to basically rewire. So this social brain, we crave it. The brain craves being together. So I would encourage all of you to continue with what you're doing, going back to this fun novelty and play. Continue what you're doing with getting people to come physically into the room. Because Krista, you want to touch on the fun and the novelty and the play part?
I will, because people crave the community. And if it's not fun, are they going to show up? And I know that you can bring games in, you can gamify it. These are things that bring people together. Really, people are craving community. We know that 3 out of 4 Americans are lonely. And so if they're lonely, maybe it just took a phone call for you to get them engaged again. Maybe it just took, you know what, a text, a hello. Because sometimes we think about what do we need to say to somebody, but just picking up the phone and saying, you know what, I was thinking about you. So those are things that bring them in. People love to be invited to things. Invite them in for fun. What do you have? This is why contests work. If you're looking for something to do, I'm sure you could all mastermind around what's fun, because we all know what fun is, don't we? Is there anybody that's not fun? They call me Fun Krista. Not really, but don't laugh, David. So what can you do that increases the fun? You could have Jenga, you can have Connect 4, you can have different games that you can bring in to bring in fun, bring back fun.
Yeah. Because the brain does light up with novelty. So if we go back to, if we're doing the same thing over and over and over, that could be another reason why your engagement starts to drop. So we're not suggesting that anybody has to be circus clowns every single time you meet with your folks. And yet, anytime you can infuse something that hits the brain a little different, feels a little unusual, a little different, it can create the energy where they're going to want more of that. So fun, novelty, and play. We're going to talk a little bit more about that at the end of the presentation today, because there's lots of great ideas. And I know many of you are doing great things right now. Going back to the dual career piece, because tomorrow's call, we're really going to hit that. I would highly recommend you do not miss tomorrow's call, because we do know that most programs, 50% and above, have dual career agents, or double duty agents, as Carla Higgins would call them. What we would say about that, though, is you can't offer, if your program is largely dual career and you want them to come into the office at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, you're setting yourself up for failure there, because they're not going to be able to. They have other jobs. Your schedule may have to change. In fact, more than likely, most of you already have, and again, tomorrow we'll go into it, you already have a way that you are meeting, and physically so, with your dual career agents. There was, sorry, go ahead, Krista. And then I'm going to address something. There was something in the chat about automatic, which we call automatically enrolled in your coaching program. So when we get to expectations, which is coming up next, we can talk a little bit about that piece, because there was a question around that. Okay. Next slide.
There we go.
Yeah. So I'm going to talk about this. So,
yep.
Yes. We're both going to talk about expectations. Several of you have heard this from me a zillion times. It's okay. I think repetition is the key to all learning. So I'm going to use David Heyer, if I'm saying your name correctly. And David, don't worry, you're just going to role play with me, but you really don't have to say much. I just need a person to speak to. I'm going to do this fairly quickly. This is what I believe should be or could be a part of your expectation conversation. If you're not having them, you're going to want to start having an expectation conversation with each person that comes into your program. So let's say that David and I, we've already been in this meeting. I already understand what David's goals are, which is to earn $100,000. Believe it or not, that's what David wants to earn, is $100,000 in real estate sales. And I already understand that that's important to David, because what would be a reason? What do you hear, David, when people want to make their 100,000? It's important because
100,000, they want to net 100,000 because that's the cost of living for them right now.
Okay, so their cost of living, and if I went a little bit deeper and I said to David, so by being able to meet that 100,000 and be able to have that amount of money for living, what will that do for you? And David might say,
Yeah, well, that'll assure that I am able to take 4 to 5 weeks vacation every year and save for my children's education.
excellent. And I would understand from David why that was important. So we're going to take vacations and save for education. All right. So I already know all that. So now I'm at the part of the conversation where I say to David, so David, here's what we know. We know that the agents who engage at a very high level in this coaching program and in our market center, those are the agents who succeed and achieve that 100,000. Those are the agents that are able to take those 4 and 5 weeks off each year and invest in their kids. The agents who don't do that, they don't come to group coaching. They don't come to the one-on-ones. They don't take ownership of the training. They're not engaging in our market centers team meetings. We can't physically give them a hug or a high five because they're not around. The agents who don't do that, they don't achieve that income. In fact, David, the agents who don't engage at a high level, they're the ones who actually aren't in this business 2 or 3 years from now. Now, I have full faith in you, right? That you're going to engage, that you're going to look at all these ways that we get to engage and how you get to engage in this coaching program in our market center and overall in your business. So I have a very important question for you now, David. Do you see yourself as the real estate agent who's going to engage in our coaching program? You're going to engage in our market center. You're going to take full ownership of learning this business so that you can earn and net that $100,000, take those vacations, and have very successful children in life because you were able to invest in them. Are you that agent, or are you the agent who will not engage? We're not going to see you. You're not going to show up. You're not going to take ownership. Which agent do you believe you are?
I believe I'm the engaged agent.
And I believe that too about you, but I have one more really important question. If at any time I start to see you disengage, in other words, you're not coming to this coaching sessions, you're not taking ownership of learning, I don't see you in the classes, I never see you at a team meeting. If I see that start to happen, what would you expect from me as your coach?
Ooh, I would hope that I hear from you at least and remind me of these things. Sometimes I'm not always paying attention. I'm a busy person, and not always paying attention to the announcements and communication from the market center.
Okay. So David, are you giving me permission to hold that space for you to show up as that agent who will earn that 100,000?
I am giving you permission for the accountability portion of that. If you care to accept that challenge.
You got it. Okay. Out of the role play. And thank you, David, for participating with me on that. So my belief is some portion of what you just witnessed David and I do is part of your dialogue with every agent who shows up in your coaching program. So the person who put in there, what about, their dual career, or I'm sorry, I read it really quick. Oh yeah. Yeah. What is it? 25 out of the 28. By the way, great job in getting some of those people into production, really good work. But I think that same conversation happens. Now, tomorrow we're going to go more into the dual career part of this, because again, if David has a full-time job somewhere, I can't expect David's going to show up at 1 o'clock for my group coaching session. So I would have to have a different way to meet David where he is. And tomorrow we'll talk a lot more about that. But I'm hoping that there was something in that, but then we're going to talk about, we have to reset expectations, which, by the way, some of you are already doing what you heard me say. Some of you are like, okay, I need to start doing this. Some of you are like, I don't care what she says, I'm not doing anything that she just said. But for those of you that are either going to start incorporating that, you might want to look at your roster right now and who needs to have that kind of a conversation. Who do we need to reset expectations with? And Krista, what are some of the ways that we do that?
We talk about resetting expectations as they come, but I wanted you to come in, or while they're there, is think about, what if you reset the experience instead? So we move from expectations to experience, because the brain, like Michelle said earlier, the brain loves novelty. And so if we change it up, what's the experience that they're getting? So most programs don't die because they die because they feel like it's school instead of results. It's not a results engine. Does that make sense? So what are you doing to reset your experience in your coaching program? Maybe you start every session with a win Agents need to associate coaching with win, progress, not pressure. Are we pressuring them every time that they come in? We need to help them shorten the runway, going back to consistency compounds. It's how do we make it that they can win today? If they came from a career that was not lead generating, how do we all of a sudden take them to lead generating for 3 hours, something they've never done before? And so reset that experience. Maybe it's SMART goals. How many of you use SMART goals for your clients? Setting SMART goals. So that may be a way that you do it. So one-on-ones, are you having quarterly reviews? Is anyone doing quarterly reviews? Maybe you make the first 30 days a momentum machine. That we get them into momentum, we get them showing up, we show them that this is safe, that they're going to win when they're in our environment. And so turn coaching into a community, not a class. Anything you want to add, Michelle?
Yeah, we could spend the next 3 hours just on what you just shared, Krista. Yeah, I love the experience piece because remember, everything is an experience. So what is the experience that they are having? And we're going to say that, remember I said it's a partnership. So they have a responsibility and so do we. We have a responsibility. If your mindset is, oh, here I go again, I got to go meet with these agents. I can only imagine what their experience is when they get to meet with you. So what can you do to set or to have an experience that people would never not want to be a part of? And that's one of the questions that we would ask is what has to happen in your PC program? They would never want to leave it. What would have to happen there? And resetting expectations, that happens a lot. Like, first of all, Krista and I talk about this a lot, that you're never, how can I say this? I don't know that any of us, I'll just put on me, or I would ever arrive. I was a PC coach for 4 years. I never felt like I arrived. I was always evolving. There was always a shift. There was always a pivot. It's the way it works within this because we're dealing with other humans. So think about what is the experience that they have when they are with you. What is your experience? Going back to what you brought up about like group coaching and all of those things. If it feels punitive, they're not coming. If somebody hasn't been coming and then you reach out to them and now they're going to re-engage, that should be celebrated. Think about yourselves. Has there ever been a time for you where I can go back to and I know I'm old, but I can still go back to when I was in grade school. And I was one of those kids that I got the mumps. Some of you wouldn't even know what that is, but there used to be a thing called the mumps. And my face blew up like this. And I remember missing school for 2 weeks, 2 consecutive weeks. It felt terrible when I had to go back into that community, into the classroom, because I hadn't been there for so long. And it didn't feel like that was a safe space. If you've got agents who haven't engaged, you really want to let them know. I would say I'm looking for another name that I haven't used it. I would say, Kim, I've missed you these last few weeks. What is it? What needs to happen for you to come back into group coaching? And I'd have that conversation with Kim and Kim would say what it is. And I would get him all excited about it. And then next thing you know, he'd be back in coaching. And when he showed up, I would be, yay, the gang's back together. So we're going to go back to not making people wrong, which goes back to what Krista brought up about the threat, the reward and the threat. We don't make people wrong as coaches. And again, the more you learn your coach competencies, the better you'll get at not making people wrong. But resetting expectations happens along the way. You can look at your roster today and ask yourself, who do I need to have that really great sit down with? And we can reset. And I could say let me look for a name I haven't used yet. I could say to Lonnie, hey, Lonnie, I'd love to just reconnect. Let's get ourselves all set up for 2026. By the way, this is the best time to be calling those people to get them re-engaged. All right, you could ask, Lonnie, how satisfied are you with the production you generated in 2026? Not satisfied at all. I'd love for this to look different. Let's set a real quick 15-minute, let's reset for how 2026 will look for you and for us in our coaching relationship or partnership. Okay.
Build a coaching track that your clients can actually climb. If they feel like they can't move up that ladder, there's a good shot that they're not going to show up. They're not going to have the safety. They're not going to have the clarity that they need. And so, what is it? Maybe what's missing in your business? Maybe it's you all getting together, masterminding on how we create this path that everyone feels special, that everyone wants to grow, and fix the accountability gap with them. Anything else on expectations?
I think we fall short from the very beginning is my point,
Yeah,
which is why I think that first initial conversation, which I only shared a little part of it, you're already setting up with them leading up to that part, but that part where you're putting them in the position to take ownership of their experience, meaning how will you show up? And if you don't, what would you expect from me as your coach? I think that's a really important piece, because then when they haven't shown up, you get to remind them. Now I could say, Jamie, give me a quick call. I've missed you. I haven't seen you the last few weeks. What's happening? That would be a question I could ask without judgment. But at a certain point, I can say to Jamie, I was really excited for what you're going to accomplish this year. And you gave me permission to hold a space for you to show up and be that best real estate agent you could be. Let's reset. Let's set another appointment, 15-minute appointment, and get back on the same page so you can move forward and get that 100,000 that you want so desperately for your family and for those vacations. Okay, next slide.
Consistency.
Yep. So this is a cadence that we believe if you implement something like this, and I know for myself with my MAPS coaching clients, we have it where on Fridays, they're looking at their roster. Who didn't I see this week? If it's just been 1 week that I haven't seen them, I might send Kimberly a quick text and say, Kimberly, missed you this week. See you next week for group coaching. That's it. Let's just say now it's been 2 weeks, and I can use Marissa because I know Kimberly and Marissa both know me and trust me, so I can use them as examples. So with Marissa, it's been 2 weeks that I haven't seen her. So now I'm picking up the phone because I texted her last week and she didn't come to group coaching this week. So now I'm picking up the phone, and whether I'm leaving a message or if I get her to answer, it's, hey, Marissa, it's been a couple of weeks. I've missed you. What's happening? By the way, if you're coming from a place of judgment, which as a coach, judgment does not exist. If you're coming as a place from judgment, then you're not creating that safety space for your client. But if I truly care about Marissa and I haven't seen her for 2 weeks, I am calling her. And something that happens when we're coaching PCs is I'll get one of my own clients will be like, yeah, well, gosh, I haven't seen this guy in 6 months. So well, tell me about that. When was the last time you reached out to him? Right. So I totally understand that you are not physically in position to pull people into being in a relationship with you. But my belief is if we have this consistent cadence of being aware of who are we missing, sending out that quick text, making that quick little phone call, you will increase your engagement if you have a cadence of that. Otherwise, and I'm not going to minimize, I understand your schedules and all the things you could be doing, but this should take priority of continuing in a relationship to keep that engagement high. Because when they first come in, that's when, like when David did the role play with me, they're excited. Oh, I'm going to do it. But then it's up to us to hold that space of accountability that we didn't see them. And they had a promise to themselves and to their families. So that could be something you could do for cadence. Okay.
You can also do something like a rookie showcase or something where when call them your rookies when they come in and showcase them. So then people love to see their name in the lights. So if we showcase them in our program that, hey, here are our new people. Now everyone gathers around them and helps boost the energy for them coming in. We create that safe environment for them.
If you go to the next slide, Krista, because I think you're tapping into that whole idea that when she said all humans want to be seen, whether you think you're that human or not, every human wants to be seen. Now, some people like to be seen and some people don't want to be seen like that. And yet everyone wants to be recognized. Everyone wants to be validated. So to Krista's point of what do we see? What do I see? If Krista and I walked into your market centers, what would we see of your coaching program? How would we see celebrations occurring?
Would we know that you had a coaching program?
Yeah, it's a great question. What do we even know you had one?
So creating the contest, the challenges, and the celebrations, all of them go back to the reward system of the brain. They actually release dopamine because the contest isn't about the win. It's about winning that small action. It's that micro win along the way with the contests or the challenges that you put them on. I know we've done things like the Amazing Race. It's kind of a challenge. Are you getting that out there? And then how do you celebrate them? Like we were saying earlier, people want to see their name in lights. They want to be celebrated. As much as they say they don't, they love seeing that name.
Yeah. Yeah, we have so many, you all probably have so many stories. I remember one of the clients that I coached years ago, she had a police officer in her program, and she was putting like pictures on the wall of them when they completed something. And he was pretty upset that his picture wasn't up there. He wasn't upset in a mean way. He was just really disappointed. But the point was, she said to me, "Oh my gosh, I've got this police officer, and here he is. Like, I don't see my picture. I don't see my picture," because everybody wants to be seen and recognized. So some of you might be thinking, but I'm not good at that, right? Like, or you might think, and it could be even a blind spot for you because you're not somebody who wants to see your name out loud. But remember that most humans do, and even for you on some level, you could probably think that you may be seeking validation right now in your position, which is you wanting to be seen. So think of ways to celebrate, challenge. A challenge could be right now, you could, if you have your people, your clients in a group texting format, like WhatsApp or GroupMe or whatever you might use, you might put one out right now and say, "I challenge every one of you to make 6 phone calls in the next 35 minutes and let me know when you've done it." That was a random. It could be anything like that. Anything like that, because here's the deal. When they get that little text that says, "I challenge all of you," there will be a part of their brain that is activated, and be very clear in what you expect, and they will take action. In fact, if you didn't do that for most of your clients right now, they're probably not lead generating. And that's not me being a negative Nelly. That's just me being real in what happens. But if you challenge them, they're more likely to. So it could be something as simple as that.
The other thing, and this is a challenge for you as the coach, is just like Michelle was saying that she was sharing stories. She was telling you about what happened to her brother when he went back to work. I almost said school, but went back to work. But rebuild your story, because your agents are not going to follow spreadsheets. They're going to follow the stories that you create in the program. So sell coaching as a path to building a real business, not just extra training. And I think that a lot of our agents look at coaching as extra training. Highlight their transformations, what they've done. Where have I taken them from day one to where they are? And sometimes it's not just numbers. It's who they become, as we've heard, that it's not about selling real estate, it's about the journey. So share your personal mission about why this matters to you and why you do this. What is the story that you want them to know about you and your program, and create it?
And community, which Krista's brought up several times. It is a community. You're a community within the community. We always recommend that so for example, in February, how many of you have ever participated? In fact, you can do it with a heart or whatever symbol you want. Have participated in Loving on Listings, which comes up in February. Let's see your hearts. Let me see your little heart so I know who I did. It was me again. There's my heart. Anybody else? Loving on Listings. I know some of your faces, Marissa. Yeah, Kimberly, lots of hurts. Yeah, Loving on Listings is an annual contest that our MAPS clients, PC clients usually will put on in February. And we know that most of our clients who do initiate this contest, Loving on Listings, they have more listings normally between February and May than any other time of the year. And that's because of the work that they did in February, which is Loving on Listings. I would say if you don't know what that is, you can either email me or Krista, and we'll make sure you get all the information on it. Yes, Maureen, we'll make sure that you can see it. we'll see, make sure everybody who's here can see the contests that we have that we push, not push. You know what? We push activity. So I'll say, yeah, we push contests during the year at MAPS with our PC clients. So we'd love for you all to be doing this. It's a fun time. And honestly, between loving on listings and sending your agents to bold and other contests or challenges that you have, that's why we are going to see a spike in productivity. But creating a community, people want to belong. When people feel a sense of belonging in your coaching program, again, going back to a place that they feel safe in, they're more likely to stay engaged. So, Krista, what did you do? You had like buddies. Didn't you set up buddies when you had your coaching program where you would set a buddy up with one of the newer agents?
Oh, yeah. Yes. I would also do things like a coaching leadership council that would also, the people that are producing in the program, they would have the buddy. They would be the leaders in there. So that, I mean, basically ran it just like an ALC, except for it was through the coaching program. I would also say that pods tend to work because we know that people are happiest when they're in groups of 3. And so I know that some of the coaches do pods where they put them in these groups so they have their safe space and they can, that's who we bounce ideas off of. Maybe I don't feel secure enough to say it in a group of 25, so I can say it in a group of 3.
Okay.
And then we have our, how do you celebrate those? Maybe you put pods against each other and those are your contests. So creating also different levels. How do we, like maybe a rookie level, a rising star level? Those are other ways for coaches to engage their clients. I will say, I will comment on Michelle's, before we turn it over to questions and answer everything in the chat, that when I was a productivity coach years ago, loving on listings really changed the trajectory. I actually at that time challenged the PC program against the ALC. And my goal was to take 58 listings that month. And at that time, Michelle was my coach. And she said to me, "What number are you at?" And I said, 55. And she's like, "Well, Krista, it's the last day of the month." And I said, "Oh, wait a minute. I have until midnight." And we actually hit our goal because it was inside of me. That contest was not just a contest or something I did. I knew it was on the inside of me. And I knew I was going to win this. And what was I winning? I was winning production for the agents, and they were all involved in it. So it was these things work, but you have to be involved with them also.
Right. Yeah, well, Krista is a very driven PC coach, and there was no doubt that she wasn't going to make it. And so when I said, well, it's already the last day, I did not expect Krista to say, oh, okay, I'm going to end at 55. I knew exactly that Krista's like, in fact, she said, I have till midnight. And I can't even remember what time it was. I got the final text from you on your final numbers, but she hit her goals. She hit her goals. So you've got to feel the challenge to bring the challenge.
Right.
You've got to feel it to bring it. So community is a big part of this. And if you're going to do something, if you're going to have a contest and you want to invite the Market Center to participate, let the Market Center know the PC program is inviting you, or the agents in the PC program are inviting you to join us. Because when you do that and the people in your program see, let's just say the email goes out and I'm in the program and I look and I see, that I'm Michelle and Joe's my coach. And I'm saying, oh, wow, I'm in this PC program and we just invited the whole Market Center to join us. I better show up myself. You can increase engagement within your program just by inviting the rest of the Market Center. Okay, we're going to open up for questions. Let's stop the PowerPoint probably at this
Well,
point.
I want to leave it on, or
Okay.
we'll just go here.
There we
if you
go.
want to go ahead
Yes.
and before we answer the questions, then I can stop the PowerPoint. So if you want to take a minute to scan the QR code, if you want more information about MAPS, please feel free to scan that, and someone with MAPS will be reaching out to you.
And we do want to make sure everybody knows about some of the resources that are available to PCs. So we do have the PC development calls on Mondays. If you don't know about those, please let us know in the chat so we can get you an invite for that. PC Atlas is the book that was written, that is out, and we have Krista does calls on Fridays that any PC coach can go to and learn more about growing your program through coaching models. And we know that Matt Kohler also holds a great call on Fridays to help you all become better in your role. There's plenty of opportunity for you to grow as a coach. Coach is a title, and anybody can be called a coach. And what Krista brought up earlier, I think is also important. I think for a lot of PC coaches, until you start to understand what coaching is or get involved in this PC community, you're doing a great job at training and mentoring, but you may not be coaching. So we've got to learn the competencies of coaching as well. All right. Any
Yeah,
questions?
and we have we'll grab the emails. I see them going into the chat
Okay.
that we will send you the call. I will tell you my call is 10 a.m. Central on Fridays, and it is all around models and recruiting. So we do go back and forth between the two, coaching models and recruiting to your program or to the market
There's
center.
coaches skills camps that we would encourage you to join. Yeah, there's plenty of opportunity for you all to learn.
Yep. All right.
Okay, any questions before we sign off? Thank you for the faces that we get to see. Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
It seemed like you were engaging. I saw notes were being taken, unless you were just doing something else, but it seemed like you were all engaging. So maybe a question that we could answer? Something you took away from today
I have
that will
a
help you?
question. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. Go ahead, Zenash.
Yes, Nash, thank you for having me. I just signed the contract with KW VIP, so I'm just new. So
Okay.
I was not sure I supposed to be on the training today, but thank you for having me. So I mean, is it good for me to continue with this training, or I'm sorry,
Absolutely,
or am I
Zenash.
placed? Yeah, I'm just
You're in the
confused. I'm so
right
sorry.
place.
Thank
It sounds
you.
like you're in the right place. Did you sign on as an agent or did you sign on as a productivity coach?
As an agent.
Okay, so you got a preview of what you might do in the coming years when you want to grow your real estate business such that you get to coach newer agents like yourself. So there might have been something in here that will help you, but this really is for the productivity coaches who coach to your role. You might aspire to be one day. So hopefully it was something
Gotcha.
in here that you heard, Zanash. Yeah.
Yeah,
And by
yes,
the
it
way,
did.
great
Yeah.
job in showing up for training. There's several
Thank
other
you.
calls for agents as well that you're going to want to get on this week.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Gotcha. Thank you.
Thank you. Maureen?
I just wanted to thanks. I thought this was great. The two things I really took away was rethinking it as an experience and a community for the agents as opposed to a team in training. And I also like that how you defined engagement, because there's more people engaged in my program than I only thought that were in production. So I was giving myself a lot less credit where I am talking to people and they call me all the time, but I wasn't feeling that they were engaged because they weren't showing up for a class or they weren't in production. But they were still calling one-on-ones and still doing those meetings. So
Yeah, excellent. So Maureen, because they engage with you, that gives you the opportunity to coach them and work with them to get them into production.
right.
Because if they're not engaging, you can't do those things. So that's excellent. I'm glad that there was some light and you could see that you're doing better than maybe you think. So now maybe it's who do I need to reset expectations with?
Absolutely. That's the next phase. But I'm going to take it in that community experience, kind of redo it for the new year for my classes. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, our pleasure, Maureen. Thank you. And thank you for engaging in our community. We have a large community of productivity coaches. We'd love to see all of you engaging in the things that we do, coming to Krista's calls, coming to the Monday PC development calls. There's lots of opportunity for all of you to grow and learn. Okay. Well, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And appreciate you all.
And we'll grab the emails and we'll send out all the calls to those that want them.
And
Thanks.
Angel,
Happy
thank you
holidays.
from MAPS for helping
Yes.
us today. Angel from the MAPS team. Thank you so much.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.